Hi, females! So welcome back to another episode of Fatal Film on Friday. In today's case, we're going to be discussing a case out of Illinois. This case actually happened in like the early 2000s, like 2005 era. I don't know if you were from around the area or you actually lived in Moline where this occurred at. You may have already heard this case. Some of you may have never heard this case before in your life, and that's okay because if you clicked on this video, you're going to learn a new case today, I guess. And so let's just go and get started.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed. Think you're something out of my nightmares, standing right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me?
So we always gotta start off with our killer. Technically in this case we have multiple killers, which it's not called Fatal Film on Friday unless it's a female involved. So we start with our female killer. Which is Sarah Ann Kolb. She was born on April 23rd, 1988 in Germany, while apparently her father was stationed over there. And then in 1996, her mother and her father would eventually divorce. At the time the crime happened, she was living with her mother and her stepfather. I guess you could say she really didn't like her stepdad, and it was even said that she had said that he abused her. However, she was known to be like basically a liar, so basically take everything she says with a grain of salt unless there's proof. And so at school, there was one school she originally went to where she was getting bullied and apparently beaten up, and apparently that somehow even got suspended for self-harming herself. And so she was transferred to this other school called Black Hawk College Community Outreach, is basically where you get like your GED. And so then here, this is where like she thrived. She was popular. She really liked being the center of attention, along with her number one follower, Corey Gregory. And so Corey, of course, was born on November 2nd, 1987. Basically, he was practically in love with Sarah, but she didn't really love him, so it was kind of like unrequited love, or however you say the word. And so there were times where apparently she would tease him, and apparently they had apparently even dated for a bit, but she really didn't feel the same way about him. I guess she just liked having him to do, again, whatever she wanted. And so then, of course, here comes Adrianne. Adrianne was born September 12, 1988 in Kilgore, Texas. Her mother, Carolyn Franco, had her when she was 16. So as a result, Adrianne basically got adopted by her grandmother and her step-grandfather, Tony. Adrianne actually did not have a great start to life, and apparently was living in foster homes and probably already had an addiction to drugs by the time she was 12. And apparently also by the time she was 12, she already had 3 assault charges and was already in rehab, all before 12. At one point, I don't know exactly what age this happened at, but apparently her appendix had burst, and so this caused her to be behind in school. And she was also said to have been promiscuous, which we don't really know whether or not that was even true, but that's what was said. And so, despite not doing really well in school, Adrianne actually wanted to be in the Marines, and apparently in order to be in the Marines, you at least had a high school diploma. You had to have a high school diploma or a GED, and so Adrianne started going to Black Hawk in order to get that GED. And so, remember, this is in Illinois, so she had to move from Illinois to Illinois from Texas at age 16 to with her father and stepmother, and she actually went willingly. And so Adrianne would actually start attending Black Hawk in November 2004. And this is when she would meet Sarah and Corey. Sarah and Corey, I forgot to mention this, they actually identified as juggalos, which is part of an extreme clown posse, which is believed to be originated from like this band that was apparently really popular back in 2005. And so, of course, with Adrianne being the new girl, she really didn't have any friends, and so she wanted to fit in. And so Sarah, being one of the most popular girls at this outreach center, she obviously wanted to be friends with Sarah. And so Sarah had apparently openly identified as lesbian, and so Adrianne had apparently identified as, basically bi-curious, not like fully bisexual, but like she was curious to see like if she was into girls, but she definitely knew she was into boys, but like the girls, it wasn't really sure yet. And so Sarah basically was trying to test Adrianne to see like, if this type of person I wanted to date, to invite her to a party to which Adrianne had allegedly slept with the guy. And so then she basically tried it again the next night with a different party at a place where like parties were often held in the area, and basically Adrianne did the same thing again. She slept with a guy again, and apparently both nights it was 2 different guys, and so this of course made Sarah like furious, because like, well, that's out the window. And then apparently Corey, remember her number one follower, he apparently was covering Adrianne by passing notes in class and stuff, and so of course this basically pissed her off. And so if we get to a point where Corey and Adrian were actually hanging out without Sarah, like they wouldn't tell Sarah they were hanging out together for like obvious reasons. Adrian had apparently even asked Corey out in like a note, which I cannot find the note. The note. I don't know exactly if he even said yes or like what exactly happened. So at this point, Sarah is basically like getting everybody against Adrian, verbally abusing her, that kind of stuff, like slut shaming her, the whole ordeal. And so of course, Corey told his mother because he was concerned that Sarah was over here doing these things to Adrian. And so eventually Sarah, I don't know exactly when, but eventually Sarah comes with this idea to like kill Adrian. And so she pretends that she wants to make up. And so apparently this was a Friday. And so on Friday, January 21st, 2005, around like noon, because apparently that's when Adrian got out for school, she goes to Adrian saying, "Hey, I want to make up. Can we talk?" And Adrian's like, "Yeah." They go into the car. I don't know exactly whose car it is, but it's someone's car. And so they go in there to talk. And so they're in the Taco Bell parking lot, and the next thing out of nowhere, they start like hitting Adrian. I guess they weren't expecting Adrian to like fight back, and so Sarah would actually grab a weapon, and then start hitting her with it. And then there was a male identified as Sean. He gets out the car. I guess he thought they were actually gonna go eat. They didn't know. He apparently didn't know this was gonna happen, and so they're like, if you don't like it, get out and leave. And so, of course, he does leave. And I think he actually walked back to the school. And apparently, from one of the sources, actually said he wished that he could have took her with him if he had known what they were going to do to her. But, of course, apparently he didn't know. And so, apparently, there was even a person walking by that when they saw the car, like, moving back and forth, they thought it was just, like, two teenagers, doing the deed. They didn't expect an actual teenager to get murdered in broad daylight, pretty much, in a Taco Bell parking lot. And so Sarah basically would use her hands to like strangle Adrian, and then Corey eventually got his belt after Adrian started fighting back. This apparently made Corey angry. At this point, it's believed that Adrian is actually deceased, and so Sarah gets this idea to take Adrian's now believed to be deceased body to her grandparents' house to basically have it burned. And so basically, they try to have the body burned, but it doesn't work. I guess they were expecting like a cremation style burning, but it doesn't burn all the way through. And so then they call a friend who is 16-year-old Nathan Gaudet. And so basically, Nate was called because apparently he liked dismembering small animals. So apparently she thought he would want to help with dismembering Adrian's body. And apparently, luckily for them, he actually was interested. And so he helped them dismember the body. They put all of her body parts into 2 bags, half apparently being out in the country where they thought nobody could find it, and then the other half being somewhere in like Rock Island, apparently in a hole. So then of course they assumed that if the body parts were separated, then they could not properly identify her. After all this was said and done, apparently they went to McDonald's. Remember how I said Adrian had left at around noon? So apparently she was supposed to go to work that day at about like 5 p.m. and she had not come home yet. They were trying to figure out where she was at. Police would eventually get called, and she was declared missing. Because she was a teenager. They were saying that she was believed to be a runaway, which of course at this point, she pretty much was already deceased. But of course they don't know that. They don't, and they're like, well, it couldn't be a runaway because at her job, she had her check there. What teenager would run away without their check? So like something suspicious going on. And so Tony, the step-grandfather, apparently got in contact with Sarah. It was like, hey, do you know what happened to Adrian? And Sarah's like, no, I don't know what happened, but if you hear anything, any updates, like please let me know. I'm happy to help. So then of course, they then goes to school that Adrian was attending, Black Hawk. They find out that all the students are apparently required to have a journal. I don't know how often they actually check these journals, because apparently on the day that Adrian went missing, remember January 21st, Sarah had wrote in her journal that she said she was going to kill Adrian. Once the police go talk to Sarah again, because you can imagine after they just read that, they obviously are going to go talk to Sarah. Sarah said that Adrian was in the car, but she got dropped off near McDonald's. But she also did mention love triangle. It was like that Corey loved her and not Adrian, which they thought was irrelevant. But so Corey's father would actually say, if you had anything to do with it or you know where she is, like you need to let the police know. So then of course Corey basically says, I need to go back to police, but this time I need a lawyer. And then Corey, I guess I guess you could say he confessed. And so his evidence in him tying all 3, so Sarah, himself, and Nate Gaudet, also Adrian's murder, and then her body parts, including her head, and I don't know what other parts, but her head were found at the Black Hawk State Historical Site in Rock Island. Sean would get asked to take a lie detector test, which understandably he was in the car like before it happened, but apparently he was not in the car when the crime actually occurred, to like basically to make sure like you genuinely like didn't know this was gonna happen, you know. And so of course he passed. He did not get charged with anything. Otherwise I feel like I would have seen it, because this was a pretty well-known case. And so I don't know, he's probably changed his ways. He's probably outliving a whole different life. Who knows? That's even if he's still alive, assuming. Nate, because he only helps dispose of the body, pretty much, he only got like 5 years. Corey would get 45 years, and Sarah was considered the ringleader of this whole thing. She was claiming that Corey actually did it all and that she was innocent. Yeah, she pled not guilty, but she ended up getting 53 years. At the trial, she actually went 11-1, so one juror actually wanted her to get acquitted, like acquitted, so all charges dropped and everything. And so a woman named Teresa had actually claimed that Sarah had said that she had fought a girl in the Taco Bell parking lot, had knocked out 4 of her teeth, made her spill blood, strangled her, and then went to McDonald's. So basically the summary of the story I just told you. The Taco Bell that the murder actually occurred at, they actually moved like down the road, like not long after the murders occurred. Remember I said Nate only got 5 years? So he actually got out in November 2008. So he ended up serving just a little under 4 years. Adrianne's parents would actually start a fund in her name, like in memory of her. And because apparently you have to pay to take a GED test, and not a lot of kids can afford to take it. And so thanks to this fund, 66 kids were able to afford to get their GED in the year 2010, thanks to this fund. Nathan, I guess, would end up getting his karma on April 16th, 2012, because he would end up dying in a car crash, and somewhere in Indiana, along with two other males who were apparently also 23, when all 3 of them basically ended up dying in this car crash. And Tony, the step-grandfather, he apparently had actually told Nathan in court that he wanted him to burn in hell. So the fact that he had died in a fiery car crash seems kind of ironic, like karma has been served, at least for one of the killers. And so in April 2019, Corey actually had the audacity to request money from a GoFundMe for money to start a book. It didn't seem like he was going to talk about, like, the murder, even though that's kind of how he got in prison in the first place, and most of his best years were spent in the prison. Adrianne's mother, Carolyn, she obviously, for obvious reasons, she was like, hey, like, please don't donate. Like, she was over begging people, and apparently he had a goal set at $3,000. $5 has ever been donated, and I couldn't exactly find who donated that $5. So later that same year, he would actually get a new trial by a Rock Island judge, thanks to the fact that apparently there was a law that passed that 40 years is basically considered a life sentence, and so that was considered unconstitutional for a minor, even if you committed a crime as serious as murder. And so for that reason, a lot of people, if you were a minor and you had committed a crime, you were sentenced to like the 40-year thing, you could basically like apply to get like a new trial. And so Corey got approved, and so Sarah had also applied for this appeal, but she was rejected. And so in March of 2021, so like literally last year at the time I'm recording this, Corey would actually appeal regarding him going under a gender assignment surgery, and is now identifying as a female under the name Harley Quinn. And so then of course the appeal isn't denied. Some say they believe that it was an attempt to stay in the same prison as Sarah, because remember, he was obsessed with her. Apparently he still is obsessed with her all these years later, even though she's never really reciprocated the feelings that he had towards her. And so, yeah, that's pretty much the last information I can find regarding this case. If there's any major updates, I'll let you know. And so, yeah, that was the tragic murder of Adrianne. And I will see you folks in the next one. Bye.
See me right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me?
Silhouettes of you are like a taunt. Never really know just what you want. With you I don't ever feel calm. I can feel the sweat inside my palms. Play with me like cats and a string. You don't understand the pain it brings. You don't ever wanna give me wings. You don't ever wanna set me free. You know I'm addicted to you, and it's twisted, you've been gifted with the evil voodoo. Got me coming back for more, even when I've been screwed. Dolls full of pins, pierce my heart straight through. I got got issues in my head. I like you in my bed, but you keep me on red. Oh, everything is like a test. I better not text or I'll come off desperate.